Good morning. It's so loud. All right. What's up, everybody? Oh, man. Busy day. I have a crazy schedule today. Let me see if I can share it. I have from 9 to 2, literally nonstop, no breaks, meetings consistently without any breaks. This is wild. I haven't had a schedule like this in a minute. I have mentorship calls, all meetings, personal training, mentorship, meeting. I actually don't know what that meeting is. Another meeting. Podcast at 1 with the boys. Oh, good morning, everybody. What's up, Slater? Slater, what school? What you go to class? What school do you go to? What's up, Ken? Good morning, Gus. I don't know how to do this. Have someone nod. Oh. What's up, Grant? 9 tattoos? I don't know what that means. Oh, is there a conversation happening? Anyways. Good. What's up, Jeff? Good morning. Good morning. All right. I'll swap you for the day. I don't know, because my family's home today, man. I want to fucking play. I want to sit there and play cars and snuggle my little man. I want to fucking sit in this office all day. I don't even know what that means. I don't know. It's early. I got up at like 4:45 to go to the gym. And I was just about to step in the shower, and I was like, nope, I feel like shit. We stayed up late watching a Netflix movie till like 11:30, and then we had to, it's freezing in Pensacola, and so we had to my wife did all the things, and then she checks on little man, and he pooped, and so we had to change him, and that's like a process if he's already asleep, and so we didn't get to bed till like midnight. Oh yeah, that was it. What was it? 5 rounds, 5 shuttle runs, 8 burpee box jump overs, 10 cal ski or 12 cal ski. Ah, there we go. See, Kenneth knows. 9 to 2. Not 9 tattoos. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, okay. 6, 12, 18. That's a tough one. So, what was my sleep score? I don't know. It was shit. 78. Garmin does a pretty good job. I have a Venu 3, and I like it. It does pretty good. The battery on it lasts for fucking ever. I only have to charge this thing like once a week. But my HRV has just been shit lately. Yeah, that's Mayhem affiliate, Leslie. Keeping it real, rope climbs and bench. Apparently, rope climbs start to make bench harder. Let's talk about why. Why would an opposite movement pattern make a movement pattern, another movement pattern harder? Why would a pull make a push harder, specifically in the arms or in the legs? Anyone know? It does make sense, and I'm going to tell you why. Good morning, Leslie. So when we have like the push pull, like the Fran combination, okay, a little bit different than the bench press. pattern. So think of a bench press, right? So bench press is pressing component, concentric triceps, chest, etc., eccentric triceps, lats, um, chest, etc. And then rope climbs. There's a lot of lats and rope climbs. There's also a lot of hip flexors, and stabilizers, etc. But what we get is we get this like lactate flood of an area, right? It's not so much that the triceps work in the rope climb, right? But all that lactate is running to a very small muscle group, right? So it's we have antagonistic muscles working, as Jake said, right? Which in theory would mean that we're going to be better than if it was like bench press and then push-ups for sure, right? So it's going to work a little bit better than that. Okay. Like we're going to have less fatigue, but because it's the same region and there's still going to be this increased lactate or blood to the area, when there's just increased blood to the area in general, there's going to be reduced ATP, right? Our ability to clear is going to be decreased drastically. Very similar to why when we push a sled and then try to run, even though running is a very easy pattern in general, the legs are wobbly at first because we're trying to clear out that so the muscles can fire specifically and appropriately, etc. Okay. But because the arm is very small, those movements are pretty much um, this is also the stupidest term on the planet. I hate when people say this. It's just dumb. Anyways, so because there's that flood of lactate, we we can't clear it very well, and so it infringes on the ability for that muscle group or any muscles around that group to operate effectively. So, good morning, Jody. Mm, This one specifically, right? Because there's so much isometric happening in a legless, right? And just in general, hip flexors are so crushed on legless rope climbs too. Um, Anywho, I just don't like. I just think it's just like it's it it's just a term that sounds like an injury. And it's just like, no, you just have like too much lactate. That's it. And so it's also it's never really used in this sense of like you just have like you're in a hard workout. That's not really how it's appropriately used. Lactic acidosis is like a condition, right? Like it's not just from like, oh, you get it from one workout and like you just have it and then you clear it out, right? So um so it's just never like the way that you guys have used it on, I don't know, the shows or like the way that John uses it or whatever, or like other people. It doesn't it just doesn't make sense, right? Like it would sort of be like saying like here's a good example. So saying you have lactic acidosis like in a workout, right? Just because like you're extremely fatigued and the chemical reaction is happening, we're not able to clear and metabolize lactate. Um, then um, it's like saying that you tore your hamstring during deadlifts when you're just really, really sore, right? So like it's like because we know, yes, in theory, the muscle's tearing some, micro tearing, and then rebuilds and get better. But you would never say you tore your hamstring, even though we technically did, right? Like micro tears for hypertrophy, et cetera. That's what the soreness, eccentric loading, blah, 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 right? You would never say you tore your hamstring. So so it is the same, like it's on the spectrum, and lactic acidosis is on that spectrum, but it's like a condition. You know what I mean? So um like it usually happens like they talk about that like in like sepsis or um like systemic diseases. Anyways, I hope that's not too boring. Um what's happening in the chat? Are we being mean to Grant? I can see so. Anyhow, um, Sean, go ahead and drop some of the information that you wanted me to chat about so I can pull it up on the screen about rhabdo. We'll pull up, let's see. So, yeah, see, there we go. See, thank you. So it's like lactic acid. It's the same, but it's just like a condition, right? Like sepsis or something like that. Like where like, oh shit, this person probably needs like medical attention, right? Um, um, I'll answer this. So rhabdo is just like an increased breakdown of like it's just like the muscle breakdown, and then it just happens too far. Okay. So like then we start to release proteins and electrolytes, i.e. potassium, mainly into the bloodstream. Urine is dark, like the pain and inflammation is even further, right? So like basically, if we think of muscle breakdown during um, I'm just going to start this so I remember to come back to it. Um, uh, when we think of like muscle breakdown and soreness, that eccentric loading, um, uh, this is just like again a very progressed response to that. When we break down a muscle, protein is released and electrolytes do go into the bloodstream, right? This is just on a very bigger level. Potassium is literally poison to the bodies. Okay. And so it's like it's a big one, right? So like Larry said, just too much protein to break down too much. And so then we have this rhabdomyolysis um, situation, right? And so it's just this like progression, right? Because the proteins in the body, we start getting systemic issues, which is like the dark urine or vomiting or almost um like heat exhaustion type symptoms. Um, so and it just takes time, right? Kidneys just got to do their job and clear it out. And sometimes it's worse than others. Uh, all right, so we're arguing in here. Catching butterflies. You guys are so mean. So what was the question? Most common movements, right? So we see them in high volume pull-ups of really any kind, chest to bars pull-ups, um, um, going to like max unbroken sets, right? Like when you go to failure, right? Then especially when there's a high eccentric component with a dynamic factor to it, like butterfly or kipping, we see the muscle is kind of like being taken beyond what it's capable to tolerate. Um, and so we see them in butterfly pull-ups. Are we done arguing? Let's move on, team. Um, I actually see them the most in something like Nicole. I've seen it happen in Nicole more than I've seen it happen in any other workout personally, right? Because it's like that max effort. So people dead hang on the bar and they're trying to get one or two of those like that full fatigue, trying to reach those extra reps, or where we see a lot of it happen. You can see it in uh, GHD, and most people from GHD, it's like a deconditioning thing. Um, yeah, this is funny. Well, when they slam potassium is still so low in those electrolytes, right? So like, but yeah, there's definitely some interesting phenomena about like why people believe um, they need all these electrolytes. There's definitely like some interesting things there, right? Um, Yeah, but I mean, I say that, but I take elements. Yeah, I like the taste of it in general. Um, so let's see. GHD sit-ups in the GHD sit-ups is where um it's just like a deconditioning thing. Not even somebody going to failure. Just most people that get them because the eccentric component is so long and you're in such a what we consider a um uh passive insufficiency. So the muscle is as long as possible. Um uh we see it in that, right? Jake Jake glutes and hams not an ab machine. You're right, but I mean it still works pretty well. I mean, there's not too many things that challenge that core flexion pattern than a GHG setup, right? Even if you like it or not, right? However it was designed, it still works really well to do a GHG setup, right? For like broad range trunk flexion. Um, let's see. What else? Murph. Um, I don't know. Do you think the GHG setup is complex? I mean, I feel like it's as controlled of a movement that we can get, right? Like when the CrossFit space, because you're actually fixed into a position. So it's relatively closed chain. Like it's like really our only closed chain um ab exercise, right? So I mean, I would feel like in theory, there's the least amount of moving parts for it to like work broad range core. I mean, um I guess if you like anchor your feet, right? Oh, for sure. Most people don't need it. 100%. No question there. But I do think it's still relatively simple. I do think it's hard. I wouldn't call it complex. I mean, I guess it just depends on how you're defining complex. Like high level, then yes, for sure. Like it is a very um high level movement that a lot of people don't need. I like half GHG sit-ups mainly just because like there's a lot of like braking component with it, like more than a sit-up. Um, what do you guys think? I give that to a lot of people. I mean, and most of the people that I coach, right, they do CrossFit, right? So we do full GHG sit-ups, but for my normies, my non-CrossFitters, I really enjoy like the half GHG sit-up. I think it and mainly because I just hate sit-ups. I think sit-ups are like, I don't know. I don't think they have like too much range of motion, especially if it's like a um mm, uh like a larger person. Not that I put the larger person on the GHG. I just don't know. I don't like just the sit up movement. Morning, Heidi. Lance. Oh, good morning. Training question. Do I think the toes GHG to toe to bar capacity 2 to 1 if you need to give grip a break? Hmm. Can you ask that again? I'm not 100% sure. Um, Lance, last time I did 50, I wrecked my abs. Oh, for sure. And this is like, it's such a, you know, um, I think Larry's like asking like if GHGs instead of toes to bar, and Travis is right. It's probably more 1 to 1, right? It's definitely not 2 to 1. I don't think it would be 2 to 1. Maybe like 1.5 if we're really being nitpicky. Um, mm, you guys are funny. I think that's it. Of course it is. All right, we're gonna sling back up to Sean's comment for a minute. My wife's been having shooting lower back pain. Been taking it easy for months. Last week got MRI confirmed bulge discs. Basically, a lot of people telling life as is. 0% chance anyone in this chat, Sean, doesn't have a bulging disc. Zero. Maybe 1% in some capacity, right? Haha. I think 3 to 2. There we go. Much better. Um, Um, so real quick, we'll come back to that. So Larry, the main thing about the like a toes to bar max set is that like there's no resting component. Um, there's no resting component, so it's not really fair to compare the GHD to the toes to bar. Um, all right, okay. So Sean, wife's been having shooting lower back pain, and um, been taking it easy. Last week, MRI confirmed. So a lot of us have bulging discs, right? And so it's certainly not a death sentence. It's such a shitty thing for people to say. Um, it makes me want to fucking vomit. Um, so tell me what her symptoms are. Okay, so you said it's getting better. And that there's no way I'm going to find the comment. So you said that it's getting better and um, that squatting is like her main complaint. So this is how I would address it, right? And Sean, you're messaging me, so if you want to pop in a call, um, and so basically we find the way. Let's see. I actually found some pictures that I hadn't seen in a while the other day. See if I can pull it up. Hmm, let's see. Cash base. Nope, nope, nope. Hmm. I just fucking saw these the other day. Maybe they're impersonal. Sorry, I'm looking through my old shit. All right, let me see if I can find it. No. Oh well. All right. So, anyways, um, so basically the numbers that we see is that you know each decade of age we increase the likelihood that we have undiagnosed disc pathology. Okay, and so these things are super common. All right, um, and the way that I would go about it, Sean, is basically we find the painful patterns, right? And then we whittle them down and we regress them to something that she can tolerate. Okay. And so um, that might be a, um, man, I'm trying to find this shit. Where is my stuff? I saw it yesterday. Oh, well, that might be um, a wall sit, right? Or squat holds or tempo squats or starting with lunges, right? But basically, we find an entry point. Okay. Mm, Here we go. There we go. Voila. I'm going to blow your minds, team. All right. So, this is my method to treat all rehab. Okay. And so, all right. So, I'm going to hide this comment. So, this is my method to treat all injury. Okay. This is a very simple approach. Okay. So, what we do when we have an injury is basically we make graded exposure and we make adjustments based on what our symptoms and presentations are. Okay. So if it's Sean's wife, squatting seems to be the worst component. the movement doctor. So we'll just say heavy squats goes here. Okay. And it's painful. And now we basically, so we can't do this. So we have to make adjustments to move ourselves down the stairways until we can find something that's tolerable. So these are not tolerable. These are tolerable. And these are modifiable factors. All right. So this is literally how we address all injury and pain in our business, and really how everyone should address it, like in general. This is the easiest and simplest way um, uh, to go through it, right? So things that we modify to make a movement similar. So we want to modify as least as possible to reach the goal context, and we'll just call it heavy squatting. Okay. So we can modify intensity, volume, intensity, load, same thing, volume, frequency, speed, range of motion. Um, Perfect. This is a great, good job of Era. Sean, she should, if she can't do this, very simple thing. This is something that she can do every day, even though it's painful. She should start there, right? And what she can do is she can do a toe spot. So find a low bar. Chris, please stop. Don't say that. That's wrong. I fucking, the QL is like, it just, anyways. So dead hanging, passive movements, really good. And the reason why that hurts most likely is because when we hang, we go into an arch pattern as a dead hang, right? And it's probably just creating a pinch in that pattern. Okay. So the QL, so here, you want to talk some QL shit. The QL is a deep muscle in the spine that basically gets any low back pain in anyone. It's very sensitive and tender. So most rehab specialists push on it. It's tender. You jump off the table and they say, oh, you have an overactive QL or you have a tight QL, blah, 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 blah. And so at no point, or you have your trigger points, you have trigger points in the season. And so the problem with saying it's a QL is it's most likely not. She has bulging discs confirmed, right? And so those are most likely what her painful response is. I'm not saying the QL doesn't have a factor, but the QL becomes this scapegoat for all things low back rehab. And so then it just gets addressed and then nothing happens, right? Or then a lot of things happen with uh, what we call like a post hoc fallacy. And so basically we address one thing, everything gets better, and then we assume the one thing that we addressed is easy. 100%. I'm very easily triggered when it comes to pain and rehab. 100%. I have no questions about it. I'm very very open about that. I don't give a shit because people say dumb shit in this rehab world all the time, and it's frustrating, right? They dig at it and they're like, "Oh, you have like trigger points in your fucking traps," and it's like everyone has a fucking trigger point in their trap. It's always sensitive. Sometimes it's more sensitive than others. The QL is a very sensitive spot in the spine. Okay, it's what we consider a hot spot. And so people dig at it, and then when they dig at it, they feel better. And then when they feel better, they assume that because they dug at it, the QL is now relaxed and now they have improved response. Okay. And so when we do that, so like when we foam roll or we dig a lacrosse ball into something, okay, basically what we're doing is we're inputting a painful stimulus to the body. And so, oh my God, someone fucking remove Chris. Jesus Christ. I can't. Chris, I hate you. Fuck you. So, um, sh- um, Chris is a good dude. I know. But I can't fucking handle this right now. I'm trying to stay focused on Sean. All right, what are we at? This can cause local inflammatory response, new irritation, not new root compression. Okay. A lot of what she's dealing with now, post-workout inflammation. So it's so this specific thing, right? So the body, think of how do we make the body stronger, right? We stress it, right? We make muscles stronger by pulling on them and they stress, okay? Um, and they get bigger, right? But if we pull on them too much, then they'll tear, okay? So stress is good until it's bad, all right? And so for the back specifically, um, we want to stress it, but we want to stress it within a low and controlled. And that's where this context comes in. Okay. Right. If she's progressing, Sean, if she's improving, even if it's taking a long time, then she's doing the right stuff. Okay. Right. Avera is right that usually when we have a symptomatic area, we create our normal responses and normal stresses from training. But because it's already sensitized, those responses are going to be much higher and heavier and more impactful. Okay. All right. So what was now normal is deemed excessive. Right. And so she has to take what our baseline of um, tolerance is and just assume that she needs to go a little bit below her intensities that she was doing before. Right. Um, so that's where we're at there. Let's see if I can find these videos. Voila. Yes. There we go. Okay. All right. Now we're getting back into the nitty gritty. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So this is think of this as this is very specifically, um, uh, think of this here as pain, but this is specifically for like a tendon and how it tolerates, but think of it as pain, right? So basically, this is our normal loading zone, okay? Right? Zone of homeostasis. Um, what's happening here? Why? Because I don't want to argue with you. I'll argue with you. Give me a minute. Let me answer Sean, and then I'll come back to your fucking McGill 3, the fucking biggest hack in all of rehab. All right. So basically, this is your wife's normal zone. Okay. All right. And so what happens is as we get injured, this zone reduces, right? And so this gets smaller here. Okay. And so as this gets smaller, our normal building zone, which is like, um, I'll argue with you. Let's go. I'm okay. I still love you. I would never hold anything against anyone that wants to argue. Um, in the chat, I enjoy it. Uh, so her normal building zone, right, like where she would train, etc., that was deemed accessible and tolerable, is now starting to move its way down, right? And so it's moving its way down here. All right. Um, mm, I don't know. I disagree with this. So I look at everything as tolerance. I disagree with Avera. Core strengthening, that doesn't mean anything. If they've already done CrossFit, their ability to um, activate their core or whatever the fuck you want to say is it's we need to increase the tolerance to painful activities, right? I don't think stretching is the answer either. I think moving into long and big ranges of motion while being in a low pain or tolerable state is key. But just like passive stretch, if um if a so if this person's a gymnast, how can a gymnast have pain if they can do 100 toes to bar unbroken? Um and they can put their face between their legs. Or if somebody can't touch their toes and can't do a toe to bar, but they don't have back pain, right? So the problem with saying that if it's reductionist to say, oh, if you just work on your core and you just stretch, then your back will be better, right? So, right. So she is flexible and she probably does have great core strength. If this is the case, then her working on those things is redundant. I don't like to be reductionist to it, right? Like if your back hurts in squatting, you have to squat. You just need to find a tolerable squatting pattern. Okay. Oh my God, here we go. All right, Chris. So this is where I disagree, right? I don't think stretching is the key. I think increasing your tolerance to range of motion is key, right? Now some people aren't going to tolerate low back flexion, right? Um or lumbar flexion in general, right? Reaching for their toes or bending over and putting their shoes on. But I don't think that's a stretching limitation. I think it's just a um it's we have this like movement apprehension once we have pain, right? And so that's where the issue is. Um so um all right. So let's go back to this. Sean, does that help at all? Right? Find patterns that are tolerable, keep things slow. Don't be afraid to load it. No dynamic patterns, right? Think of like squat therapy, right? Think of like if pain to the silent scorn. Um uh think of like squat therapy. How would you teach someone to squat if they couldn't do it at all, right? You would go through like supported squats, goblet squats, cyclists, etc. Those are the patterns that she should be working through to now increase her tolerance to squatting, right? If she keeps flaring it up, then I would continue to reduce the dynamics, the volume, the intensity, etc. Um, uh, and so that's where I would start, right? But if she's improving, then it sounds like she's doing the right stuff. Sometimes these things can stick around for a long time, right? But don't avoid patterns, just reduce their intensity, range of motion, load, etc., right? Avoidance is for sure the key to never getting that pattern back, right? That's my biggest thing. I never like to say, you know, it hurts to put on my shoes, which is super common for some form of disc pathology. Then, um, then people just avoid it, right? They find different ways to put it on, etc. Um, and it's just not the like it doesn't come back, right? Like movements just aren't going to come back if you don't work through them. That's the biggest thing. Okay, let's go to let's go to Grumpy's comment. Yes, you are. Come here, daddy. All right, McGill Big Three, and why the McGill Big Three doesn't work, in my opinion. Okay, if our goal is to bend over and touch our toes, or to deadlift again, or to squat again, then the McGill Big Three are three bracing components. I don't know why it's three. It's just what he said. All right. I'll put myself back on the screen. So, um, the McGill Big Three is three movements that are just core bracing, right? So I think it's like pelvic tuck, bird dog, and I don't even remember what is it. Yeah, so we have a bird dog. I don't even remember what they are. A curl up and a side plank, right? And so these are all very, very small ranges of motion. Okay. That eventually, if you're doing them, you're still going to have to bend over and pick shit up off the ground and do a uh, do like a Jefferson curl to put on your shoes or squat heavy, etc. Right? Is this a question to me, Chris? Yes, I am. I think you know that. I think you're being facetious. I just don't like the Bill Big the McGill Big 3 because what I've found is that it kinda locks people into this, like, you have to be fully braced to do any type of hinging pattern, and then it just doesn't progress out of itself. Now, what I have seen it do is people that are basically not ambulatory, like they're literally stuck in a bed, it's a good way to get that person to just do literally anything because the movements are very easy, but I just don't think they progress well outside of laying on your back. Right? And that's my problem, right? Like if someone has back pain, we're getting them up and we're moving through big range of motion as soon as possible to what they can tolerate. That's why I don't like the big 3. It's this like it also doesn't I don't think telling people um that can do 100 GHG sit-ups in a workout that they have a weak core and they don't brace their core very well and they have this like 10 pack abs. Sure, they might have some movement faults, but I've never the research shows that like trying to be reductionist to like, oh, the way you move is why you don't get injured is just not the case. There's plenty of people, I mean, literally millions of people that move like shit that never get hurt. And there are millions of people that are, leaders in their field of movement that get hurt all the time, even though they have perfect patterns, right? So, I don't think it's a tool. I don't like it at all. I think it is I think it creates more harm than good with how people view how they should be moving or what they should be doing to support their movement. Um, and then I also definitely think it is a negative response um, to getting back to picking things up off the ground and to deadlifting or squatting heavy, etc. Right? McGill is, the biggest proponent that like flexion and rotation of the spine is bad. And if that was bad, then it wouldn't be a spine with multiple segments and levels. It would be a rod, right? It would be one rod and that's what it would do. We wouldn't be able to rotate, but we can, right? Because we move over the thoracic, we rotate over the thoracic, we bend over the lumbar, etc. And so I just think that saying that spinal flexion and rotation is bad is just a I just don't I mean it's fear mongering 100%, right? And so I don't like that. I don't like anyone that starts to demonize movements in any capacity. Um Jonathan, I have bulging discs. How do I return to high volume deadlifts? I can do heavy, but not volume, right? So, um, usually when we do volume, the technique changes a good bit. When we do heavy, the technique is much different, right? So it's braced, it's slow, it's just one lift. When we go for volume, it starts to round, right? We lose that bracing component, right? And so what I try to tell people to do is you have to train that different pattern. It's a different pattern, right? And so this is why, in my opinion, um, 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 okay. So, like when I'm working with any athletes that's having a lot of back pain with things like that, like we do a lot of like lumbar flexion stuff. So like Jefferson curls, even high volume Jefferson curls, um, deficit deadlifts. It's hard to maintain that perfect lumbar like neutral pattern when we're in that deficit position. And so I think that training that slight lumbar flexion with your hinge is super important. Um, so there it is. Let them know. Core strengthening. Build your core. Build your core. It's just kind of yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like this kind of like taboo statement. What am I pulling up? Grant, I'm not pulling it up. I don't care. That's a lot of weight though. That's pretty good though. Nice. No, they're normal sized. These are normal sized golf clubs. Mm. I just have a really big head. But yeah, they're normal sized. They're just old, like old Hogans. They're wood. Um, yeah, that's what happens. Um, uh, yeah, core disc pathologies suck. Like herniating a disc. Yeah, herniating a disc is super painful, but it's very, um, uh, like transient's probably not um the right word, but it varies differently. Like some people can have like a very big um extrusion and um have a lot of pain, and other people just don't have that many symptoms, right? And so that's why it's not very fair to just like be very tissue based on like our assessments, right? And some people have very small bulges or not even, and could be just like something um something of like a facet issue, and they can have the symptoms like you do, Grant. So um I mean, so again, I'm not telling you to do what you did because that sucks, right? um right, there we go. Thank you, Vera. It's like a spectrum, right? It's like a tear, right? So it's like small, medium, big, right? So it's all right. Vera's smarter than I am. That's okay. Um, yeah, it's actually like it's like less than 1% of the time, like way less than 1%. Um, ugh, I don't know. Vera's clearly probably some sort of orthopedic doctor in some capacity, or a DO. That's funny. No, I like Avera. She's kind of pessimistic lately. I don't know. Avera, are you a guy or a girl? Um, oh, or a neurosurgeon that enjoys CrossFit podcasts. I love it. Again, way smarter than me. Um, but I appreciate it. Thanks for all the input. Um, a white male neurosurgeon. Um, diagnostics of a YouTube comment. Chris, thanks for the input, by the way, as well. This is funny. I don't even know what that means. That's way over my head. This is like the most confusing question I've ever got. I have to look this up. What is that? I have no idea what the fuck. Is that a I don't know what this is. Okay, I won't do it. Oh, is this about giants? I don't know. No, I'm not giving you the call in. Not a chance. All right. On to the next. All right. What else are we talking about? Anything? Yeah, well, my phone's not connected right now, so it won't go through. We're not talking about it. Whatever that is. I don't want to talk about that. This is true. You do all have my number. Um, we're gonna talk about Wadapalooza at one today with John and Travis. Is there any information? Are you going, Ortega? Sorry. I don't know why I said Ortez. Um, let's see. Mm, Oregano. Perfect. Mm, yeah, what's your wife doing in the States, Jake? The Mayhem invite list. Oh, yeah, is that up? Oh, yeah, that is up. I like that. Talk about CrossFit. What the fuck is on my screen? Where is that invite list? Nope. Nope. I don't know where it is. Um, Always appreciate it, buddy. I made the list. Yes. Um, no, I mean, I think so. Ricky going to proven. So I don't know. I have like, I mean, I support anyone that supports CrossFit, and they're promoting the open, and am very happy about that, right? And so with that, I am happy that they're growing in general. I do think that camps that start to create monopolies, it hasn't really worked out for those athletes, right? Like, um, in general, like when you start training with others, I think things change. People think that um, coaching makes that much of a difference, and I just don't think that it does. At like the highest level, like once you're already there, um, I think those athletes are probably just going to get better in general. But um, I mean, Proven's growing, right? They got Kiefer, which means they, you know, basically adopted 10 top 50 athletes. And so um, I don't know. I am um, indifferent about it. I don't think it really matters. Mm, What's happening? Running around like a maniac. Who are you shooting, Jonathan? Ignore the chat. Thanks. Um, uh, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I agree here, but I think Kotler's a pretty unique person, right? Um, and I mean, I really respect him. I think he's done a lot. I think, having like two, like one of the best females and one of the best males in a great camp at one point. Um, I don't know, but everyone's leaving, right? So there is a common denominator there. So um, maybe something's there, right? I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I want to say I really like Justin. I don't know anything about him. Um, but it stinks. I think he did dirty with Kiefer leaving for sure. I was very not happy about that. Um, and so yeah, it will yeah, I mean, I hope some athletes end up going over there and growing underdogs again. So 100% Ben or Barry, um we will be pushing the open. I agree. Here we go. Ready? Sign up for the open. Scan that QR code. Sign up today for the open. Everyone should sign up. I got the little, I don't know, combo package, right? It's whatever it was. It was like a sign up and a a t-shirt and the judging thing or whatever, but yes, everyone will sign up. Even though I can't do it worth a shit, I'll still do it. I'll watch my name just die on the leaderboard. Um, and yeah, so always do it. I will do it as long as there is an open. I will sign up every single year. Um, um, I don't know. I didn't watch that last night. The so I so this is how I look at it, right? I think that anyone who tries to make money should have their right to make money. Okay. And I think if someone is infringing on their ability to make money, that's not okay. All right. Um, and so I don't um I don't know anything about it, but if people are buying it, then I think that um I don't think people like I don't know what Hiller did. If Hiller went in there inside, he bought it and then he went in there, um, then and like ripped it apart of how shitty it was. I just don't know if that's the best way to do it, right? I don't know. It kind of seems slimy to me if that's what happened. I don't know if that's what happened, but I don't have any opinion on it, right? If people trust her to do that, nutrition advice is a dime a dozen, right? It's all really the same, right? It's some macros, probably some sort of calculator, and some accountability that someone probably helped her build in an app, right? And she shared profits because her name is big. Someone else built it, would be my guess, right? And that's okay, right? I don't trust CBG. We know CBG personally, at least in the WODprep space, and so um, uh, I think his approach works well for people who train really hard, right? I think there's some gaps in his messaging, but a lot of people really hate counting macros, um, and so I mean he hit a niche really hard, and he's like Grant said, he's a salesman and he's good at what he does. He is. So Um, sure, if that's what it is, then great. Then I think that's awesome because it's just accountability and like all those calculators are the same, Kenneth. Like they're all within 5% of the same numbers, right? Based on activity level, etc. Um, you know, I think I think a lot of like what works with CBG is it's just like mindset stuff, which is what how a lot of nutrition most people work like do well with nutrition coaches because it creates more accountability. And that's it, right? It's not that like their diet changed that much. Um, yeah, and so this is it, right? And so Larry, the biggest thing here, right, is like some people, um, some Barry, don't you work with Ashley? Do you still work with Ashley? Um, Barry, you have a name. That's not that. Oh God, that's intense. So yeah, I mean, I don't tell anyone, so I don't think that's sketchy. I don't think it's sketchy to do that because there's sticker shock in everything. I do the same thing. I don't tell anyone the price of our coaching until we have had um until we've talked, right? Because if you open with price, then you haven't set the tone, right? So um Jake, you're such a sadist. So everything is smoke and mirrors, right? But Jake, do you sell or you're a coach, right? And you sell a program and you coach athletes Okay. So it can't all be smoke and mirrors, right? Like we have to, at some point, it has to just be like what it is. Um, oh, for sure. Yeah, this is it. Simplicity is key, right? I think that's very fair. CBG is pretty simple. Um, in that sense. But everyone is always looking for like the fast way out or the new thing. Um, and so yeah, but I'm it's a nutrition company. Constantly, I don't remember. Someone knows. I don't know what the acronym stands for. Mm, I don't remember. Um, yeah. So, anyways, it's I think it can be simple. All of this can, right? But people want accountability. They want a coach, and I think that's totally fine. That's how we make our money. But I consistently breeds growth. There we go. Thank you. Excuses or oh, you're talking to right. If you have decent or you need, and this is what it is, right? Help you make good decisions. And that's all we do, right? Here at WODprep with my like rehab stuff. If you looked at my rehab programs for athletes that come to me that can't bend over and touch their toes or like are in their bed, it just looks like an exercise plan, right? But it's reassurance, it's, authority. They trust me and, they can bounce ideas off me. We can like reduce panic states, or like flare ups, et cetera, and calm them down and keep moving and make good decisions, et cetera. But it's all very, very simple, right? I try and limit the quote unquote smoke and mirrors as much as I can. Um, and so it will, the goal is to keep it as simple as possible to the point that it looks um, like I'm not doing anything. And that's pretty much how it always looks, right? So, um, which is why I don't like to say core strength and stretching and like QL for all these back pain things. You just got to move to tolerance. And as we increase tolerance, we increase movement. And then it kind of progresses from there. Right. That's it. All right. Well, that was emotional for the day. And you guys get to see me get passionate about pain and injury. Um, all right. Anything else? Dude, man, 6 hours of sleep is not cutting it for me. But with that being said, my HRV is still up. Scan the QR code if you are looking to keep maintaining that good sleep. Um, even if you're sleeping, even if you're not getting a lot of sleep, we want to make the sleep that we get efficient. Scan the QR code, 15% off for third Z. So give that QR code a scan. Um, all right. Ben will never get on the morning show, but we will have him on a show in general. He's sleeping 100%. This morning show starts at like 6 his time. Never. Um, he doesn't like, he won't get on here and just talk shit. He wants to have a purpose. So, all right. All right. All right, guys. Adios. Have a good one. I'm going to eat some breakfast. And yeah.